You probably have a friend like this. Same background as you, same kind of job. Maybe you even started out at the same place, same neighborhood, same school, same conversations about how one day things would be different. And now, a few years later, they're different. They're buying property, or they've got real savings, or they just seem financially comfortable in a way that doesn't require constant mental math, while you're still doing the calculation, still wondering if this month finally works out, still feeling like you're one unexpected expense away from the edge. And the part that actually stings, the part nobody wants to say, isn't the money gap itself. It's that you can't figure out why it exists. You didn't make dramatically different choices. You didn't blow your money on something reckless. You just lived. And somehow that wasn't enough. Here's what I want you to consider. A Federal Reserve study found that among Americans earning between $50,000 and $75,000 a year, nearly 40% have less than $1,000 saved. Same income bracket, wildly different outcomes, and income alone explains almost none of it. So if it's not income, what is it? That's what this is actually about. And the answer is not what you think. Let me tell you about two people. I'm going to call them Marcus and Daniel. They're composites, built from patterns that show up in financial psychology research over and over, but they could be any two people you know. They could be you and someone you grew up with. Marcus and Daniel both land jobs at the same company, same role, same $60,000 salary. Both of them genuinely excited, both of them convinced, really convinced, that this is the turning point, that now things get serious, that the financial chapter they've been waiting for is finally beginning. Month one, Marcus does something quiet. He opens a separate savings account. Not because he just read a financial book, not because someone gave him a lecture. He just decides, without fanfare, that 10% of every paycheck goes into that account automatically, before he sees it, before he can think about it. Gone. Daniel makes a different decision. He'll save whatever is left at the end of the month. That's the entire fork in the road. That's it. Now, pause here for a second, because I want you to notice something. At this point in the story, who do you think is better with money? Marcus automates a saving habit. Daniel plans to save consciously. If anything, Daniel sounds more deliberate, more thoughtful, more in control of his own decisions. And here's the strange part. Daniel is. He actually is smarter with individual purchases. He researches before he buys. He comparison shops. He almost never makes impulsive decisions on big items. He's the kind of person who reads the reviews, waits for the sale, and feels genuinely proud of the deals he finds. 5 years later, Marcus has over $200,000 in savings and assets. Daniel is carrying $11,000 in credit card debt. How does that happen? Your first instinct is probably Marcus wanted it more. He was more motivated, more disciplined, more committed to the goal. But that's not true. Daniel thought about being wealthy constantly. He read the articles, he watched the videos, he had conversations with himself every January about this being the year things changed. The desire was real, the intention was real, and it didn't matter. So motivation wasn't the gap, and discipline wasn't it either. The real difference was something operating underneath both of their conscious decisions, something neither of them could see while it was happening, something that was quietly, consistently, invisibly shaping every financial choice Daniel made, and that Marcus had accidentally bypassed without even fully understanding why. And once you understand what it actually is, you'll see it everywhere. Stop, because this next part is the part I want you to actually sit with. Your brain cannot distinguish between money you have and money you can access. Read that again, because it sounds simple, but its consequences are enormous. When Daniel's paycheck hits, all of it, sitting right there, visible, accessible, his brain registers that full number as his current reality. That becomes the reference point, the baseline, the new normal. And every financial decision he makes for the rest of that month is unconsciously calibrated against that number. He's not overspending. He's spending relative to what his brain genuinely perceives as his available life. Psychologists call this the wealth illusion, and it works like this. The more money you can see, the more your nervous system treats it as belonging to your current standard of living. It gets quietly absorbed into your sense of what's normal, and once something feels normal, spending it stops feeling like a decision at all. Marcus never gave his brain the chance to make that claim. The 10% was gone before his nervous system could adopt it. His brain adapted to the lower number. It calibrated to that, and that lower number became his normal. So Marcus didn't save because he had more willpower. He saved because he engineered a situation where willpower was never required. That's a fundamentally different thing, and most people never make that distinction. But here's where I want to reframe this completely. Because the wealth illusion is just the first layer, and what's underneath it is actually more interesting. Think back to when you first started earning real money, your first real salary. Do you remember that feeling? The sense that this was more than enough, that you could actually breathe now, that life was going to feel different. How long did that feeling last? For most people, it's somewhere between 3 and 18 months. And then quietly, without any single dramatic moment, that salary that felt like freedom starts feeling like just enough. The apartment that felt like a luxury starts feeling like a minimum. The restaurants that felt like a treat become just dinner. This is called hedonic adaptation, and it is completely automatic. You don't choose it, your brain does it, to protect you from constant stimulation. But the financial side effect is devastating, because it means that every raise, every bonus, every income increase gets quietly absorbed into your new baseline, and the goalpost moves forward, always just slightly out of reach. Daniel wasn't disciplined. His lifestyle simply expanded in precise proportion to his income. Every raise felt like permission. Every bonus felt like a new floor. He was always one pay increase away from getting ahead, and somehow he never actually got there. Now I want to ask you something directly. Think about what felt like a luxury 2 or 3 years ago that now just feels normal. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, because we all have a version of that answer. That's hedonic adaptation, and it's been working on you this whole time. Now, let me say something that might sound wrong at first. If hedonic adaptation were the whole story, it would affect everyone equally. Same salary, same adaptation, same outcome. But that's not what we see. Marcus experienced hedonic adaptation too, of course he did. His lifestyle changed over 5 years, but the gap between them kept growing. So there's something else. And this is the part that most finance content completely avoids, because it's uncomfortable in a way that goes deeper than budgeting advice. Think back to when you first felt something about money as a child. Not a lesson your parents consciously taught you, not a conversation about savings accounts. A feeling you got when money was present in the room. Maybe it was watching your parents' face change when the bills arrived, that particular tension, the way the air in the room shifted. Or maybe hearing money discussed in hushed voices behind the closed door, or being told, "We can't afford that." Not as an information about money, but as a door closing, repeated enough times that it started to feel less like a fact about money and more like a fact about you. Those moments didn't just inform you about money. They created an emotional fingerprint around money, a blueprint, and that blueprint is still running in the background today, every single time you open your wallet or check your account or make a financial decision. Here's what that actually means in practice. People who grew up in households where money was associated with stress, with tension, with scarcity, with anxiety, often develop an unconscious relationship with savings that feels counterintuitive from the outside. Holding money creates a low level of discomfort, a kind of low hum of anxiety, and spending it, even on something unnecessary, temporarily relieves that anxiety. Think about the feeling after a purchase, not the excitement of getting something new, the relief, that brief, quiet sense that everything is fine now, that you're okay. That's not you being bad with money. That's your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do before you were old enough to question it. Marcus grew up in a household where saving felt safe, where money in a separate account felt like security. It didn't feel restrictive, it felt protective. That emotional association made the automatic saving system not just easy, but psychologically comfortable. For Daniel, that same system would have created a background anxiety he wouldn't even be able to name. So he didn't build it, and he told himself it was because he preferred flexibility. But it wasn't about flexibility, it was about what felt emotionally survivable. And this is where I'm going to say something that might make you uncomfortable. Even if Daniel had solved everything we've talked about, the wealth illusion, the hedonic adaptation, the money blueprint, there's still a third force working on him, on all of us, and it might be the most expensive one. It's the invisible cost of belonging. Human beings are wired at a primal level to mirror the spending behavior of the people around us, not consciously, not deliberately, automatically. Because for most of human history, falling out of sync with your group wasn't just socially awkward, it was dangerous. Your brain evolved to treat social misalignment as a genuine threat, and it still does. Which means if your five closest friends are spending money on dinners, trips, experiences, upgrades, and things that signal a certain level of life, your brain doesn't register that as peer pressure. It registers it as survival information. It will find the logic for you. It will make the spending feel not just reasonable, but necessary. Because the alternative, being the one who says no, who opts out, who orders the cheaper thing, doesn't just feel frugal, it feels like separation, like you're drifting from the group. And your brain is not okay with that. So you spend, not because you want the thing, because spending is the social signal of belonging, and belonging feels like safety. Picture this. It's Friday evening. Your friends are making plans. Someone suggests a restaurant you know is expensive. Not a special occasion place, just expensive. The old version of you would have said yes without thinking. Maybe you're more conscious now and you hesitate for half a second. And then you think, it's just this once. I've been working hard. I deserve this. Everyone's going. Every one of those thoughts was generated by your brain in service of belonging, not in service of your financial goals. You didn't make that decision. Your social wiring made it for you. The dinner you said yes to because you didn't want to seem difficult, the vacation you charged to a card because everyone else was going, the phone upgrade you didn't need but felt genuinely behind without, none of those felt like peer pressure. They felt like your choices. That's what makes it so effective. The social cost of saying no is invisible, but it's real, and your brain charges you for it every single time. Daniel wasn't spending recklessly. He was maintaining his world, and his world was expensive. Marcus, quietly, without making it a personality trait or a statement, had learned to separate his sense of himself from what he spent. Not perfectly, not rigidly, but enough to make different choices at the margin. And at the end of 5 years, the margins were everything. So go back to those two people. Same job, same salary, same city, same starting line. The gap between them wasn't discipline. It wasn't intelligence. It wasn't some secret Marcus knew that Daniel didn't. It was three forces, all operating beneath the surface, all invisible until you know what to look for. A baseline, what his brain had been quietly trained to treat as normal. A blueprint, the emotional relationship with money installed in him before he was old enough to question it. And belonging, the unconscious financial cost of staying connected to the people in his life. You can't fight those three forces head on. Nobody wins that fight with willpower alone. The research is unambiguous on that. But here's what changes when you understand them. You stop designing your financial life for the person you wish you were, and you start designing it for the person you actually are. You automate the behaviors your present self would sabotage. You get curious, not judgmental, about the emotional fingerprint money left on you as a kid. And you get honest about which social costs are worth paying and which ones you've been paying on autopilot your entire adult life. That's not a budget. That's not an app. That's awareness. And awareness in the world of financial psychology is worth more than any spreadsheet ever made. Marcus built $200,000 on a $60,000 salary, not because he was exceptional, because he understood, if only intuitively, the actual game he was playing, and he stopped trying to win a different one. The question isn't whether these forces are working on you. They are. They're working on everyone. The question is whether you see them clearly enough now to start building around them, because once you see them, you can't unsee them. And that, quietly, is where everything starts to change. And once these patterns come into focus, something strange tends to happen. You start noticing a deeper layer underneath all of it, a psychological trap that explains why even people who do start saving, who do everything right on paper, still can't seem to feel financially secure no matter how much they accumulate. That restless feeling that more money never quite solves. That's exactly what I break down in this video, and it might be the most important thing you watch after this.